So I'll start by saying that this is really exciting and an honor for me. Sports Video Group is something that I've been following and been a part of for the last, I'd say, 6 years or so. So before going to Facebook, I was in the broadcast space. And most recently was at Bloomberg Sports, where I led the media business and really understood through SVG, learning a lot about how we're looking for solutions in order to be able to improve the content distribution and the content creation. So the focus at Facebook right now is definitely distribution, and I shouldn't say just for now, it's going to be for a long, long time. Our focus is being the best platform to get content out to the right audience at the right time. So with that, we could start the presentation. And looking at our sheer numbers, and I'm sure you're all aware, we're really big. 1.65 billion is our monthly active users. We just rolled out Oculus products over the last year, and the good news is so far demand has been greater than supply, so it's a good problem to have. Billion people, monthly actives on WhatsApp, 900 million on Messenger, and over 400 million on Instagram, making them the second largest social platform. And then the consumption numbers are below, but I think most of this information you guys are very much aware of. But as far as what our mission is at Facebook, so I'm a part of the global sports team, I manage sports media. Our goal is kind of twofold. Number one is to inform, entertain, and engage the world's largest stadium of fans. But in order to do that, we have to work with you. We have to work with our partners to achieve their business objectives, and this is a really exciting time right now as the media landscape is changing, and we're all kind of on the front lines trying to figure this out together, and we're really excited about sharing data with you, best practices with you, but part of the relationship has to be you giving us your feedback as well, helping us determine what products to roll out, what type of business tools we should come up with in order to allow this content to flourish on our platform. So Facebook's the world's largest community of sports fans. The big number is 650 million. So of the 1.65, 650 have actually come out and said they're a sports fan. The way they did that is by liking a sports page. On average, each one likes 12 pages involved with sports. As far as consumption and real-time consumption specifically, these are some of the recent big events. Looking at the World Cup so far, that is the biggest social media event of all time. 350 million people talked about it during the event. Cricket World Cup had 53 million, and then NFL Super Bowl this year had 60 million people talking about it on Facebook while the Super Bowl was actually being played. And the role of Facebook, to be clear, is the second screen to a lot of broadcast partners of ours. 85% of people who go to social media during a live broadcast are checking out Facebook, according to Millward Brown. So that equates to roughly 3/5 of your viewing audience are on Facebook during primetime hours. And other consumption statistics to quickly go over, 1 of every 4 minutes spent on a mobile device is spent on Facebook, and that includes phone calls and text messages. 14 times a day, the average user checks out Facebook, and Facebook currently leads to about 1/4 of the clicks on the internet. So what do all these numbers mean when it comes to your business? And this is a common business funnel that we're all familiar with. Awareness, then having opinion, consideration, preference, and ultimately purchase. So the goal is to use Facebook in order to really build out that funnel, make it significantly bigger than it currently is. How do you do that? Many ways. Content development. Video, which is the #1 way to reach your audience right now. Onboard your talent, go over best practices, have a strong posting strategy, targeting and publishing tools, integrate your broadcast with social to make it more interactive and engaging, strategic marketing, experiment with new products and so forth, and ultimately that should drive the purchase or monetization. So that's obviously a metaphor, and we say with monetize, being able to encourage tune-in of your broadcast, being able to increase subscriptions and pay-per-view, sponsorships and advertising, ticket sales and merchandise, consumer insights, fan experience, whether it's physical, broadcast, or digital, all those areas pretty much touch you in the room in some way. So being able to focus on the above in order to accomplish the below is the idea of this funnel with Facebook. So let's kind of take a look at Facebook over the years. That's about 12 years ago when I was in college. That's what Facebook was. Someone updated a link, not even a link, just a post saying what they were doing at that given moment. And then suddenly photos became very popular. And the one thing I'd say about Facebook, I do think it's an incredibly innovative company, but at the same time are very reactive, and specifically reactive to what's going on the platform. So what we noticed were people started changing their profile photos when they went on vacation. That was the only way to distribute pictures in Newsfeed. So we quickly said, all right, we should probably allow people to post photos. That's clearly a thing, and it was. And we quickly became the world's largest photo platform, and then obviously acquired Instagram as well to complement that. And then video, which is surprisingly really young for us. So people don't realize, like, video is literally less than 3 years old on Facebook when it comes to our native video player. It was an investment that we made after, again, looking at a lot of the data and realizing that the current way of viewing content on Facebook when it came to video was just suboptimal. A lot of people were clicking out of videos because of pre-roll and things like that. So we've invested heavily over the last few years in building out a video platform. And then what's to come, VR and AR, augmented reality and virtual reality. And this is an example of a 360 video where you could literally shift the screen and look at a 360 view of content that's going on. And we'll dig deeper into that in just a little bit. But let's first go over some of the products that we have out there, I should say platforms that we have out there. Facebook Live, which we're going to do a pretty deep dive in. This is our newest product that we rolled out just a few months ago, and really are excited. And in the words of Zuckerberg, we are all in on Facebook Live. So I'll kind of walk you through what that means when it comes to sports broadcasting. There's instant articles, which we'll touch on as well. Oculus Rift, Gear VR, Facebook and Instagram video on demand, which still is probably the #1 level of consumption of video content on both platforms. And then we'll go into 360 video as well. And then taking those platforms and building tools that allow you to grow your businesses. So literally a month and a half ago, we came up with a new version of branded content. I shouldn't say new version, a version of branded content, because before that, it was illegal to do. And sure, we all saw it and kind of turned a blind eye to it, but while that was happening, we were trying to discover the best way of creating a system that allows partners to go ahead and put branded content into the ecosystem and keep 100% of the revenue. So we'll go deeper into that. Rights management, which is incredibly important. I mean, we see how much people are paying for the rights for live sports events. We have to protect that investment. So coming up with a rights management system that is automated and would literally knock down a video the second it goes up is something that we've invested in as well. And then finally, Video Tab, which probably no one in the room has yet on their cell phones, but I'd say in the months to come, we're going to roll out the ability to press a button on the home part of your Facebook app that's going to immediately take you into a video ecosystem. You're going to be able to see everything from what's going on in the world live at that given moment through Facebook Live, as well as different pieces of content that are very relevant to you. And looking at it and how this equates to today's broadcast business, we really believe it's very complementary, and we have a couple of case studies that we could walk through. The first one was one with a major broadcaster in the US who was broadcasting a live sports event, and what we did was we did a partnership where they used their minute-by-minute Nielsen data, and we used our minute-by-minute Facebook chatter, and what we saw was that the Facebook chatter peaked a couple of minutes before the broadcast ratings peaked. And certainly, I mean, that's been the case for years. There's many ways that people find out about what's going on television. Some people constantly skim through the channels. I know my dad does that. A lot of people get text messages, a lot of people get phone calls, and a lot of people are on other sites and so forth. But what we know about Facebook is during primetime broadcast hours in the US alone, we have roughly 70 million people on Facebook. So for you to be able to put the content in front of those people and have them find out that way could ultimately lead to an increase in ratings, which is what we saw in that example. What we've also seen is great examples of surrounding your second screen, because basically what we've seen for years is during commercial breaks, people do turn off the channel. They tune off and they go to a different channel, and they often do come back. But one way to avoid that is by literally programming that commercial break. So Fox News, during their presidential debates for the Republican Party, went ahead and actually went live on Facebook with this content during the commercial break. It reached tens of thousands of people live and hundreds and thousands of people after, and was a great way to bring awareness to what was going on their first screen at that given second. And then finally, leveraging the API. So this is something we just unveiled access to about a month ago. And what it does is it allows you to go ahead and get access to, being able to use a lot of your high-end production equipment and be able to have it flow directly into Facebook. So it's no longer limited to just the camera on your phone. You're able to now also use some of your production equipment that you've been investing in for several years. Also, being able to position yourselves for the future. And what you can see here is a chart that came from ComScore that shows on the left-hand side consumption, and the bottom is reach. And when I first saw this, admittedly, I got very nervous because I couldn't find Facebook. It's in the top right. So Facebook does not really have a millennial issue. We reach over 95% of millennials who are on the internet, and you can see by the level of consumption it's significantly further than anyone else. And then the next closest to the far right is Instagram, which is also a part of our Facebook proper. And with millennials, you have to understand that not only are they interested in different content, which has always been the case, but also the way of consuming is radically different than years past. So again, coming from ComScore, what we could see on the right-hand side is for people who are 55 and older, 70% of their video consumption comes from television. 30% is everything from mobile, desktop, movies, and so forth. On the left-hand side, you could see that 18 to 34, so the millennial age, we have 40% of consumption happening on mobile. So knowing that 1 in 4 minutes spent on mobile is on Facebook, you could imagine the level of consumption that's happening right now, and also what will continue to happen as we look into the future. So now I'm going to quickly walk through how the team is broken out at Facebook, what our global approach to sports is. We have our global head, Dan Reed, who leads global sports, and reporting to him are these 5 different verticals. So we have a team that focuses purely on athletes and agencies. We have the sports media team, which I currently lead, and also Amy Hudson's in attendance today. You can meet with us after this. We're happy to talk with you and answer any questions you might have. We have a team working on leagues, a team working on teams, including Nick Marquez, who I'm sure many of you know. He leads our college efforts for the most part when it comes to working with the teams and the conferences. And then innovation and growth, which we're currently showing surfing, but we should probably change that to esports, especially since we're so close to Turner here in Atlanta right now. So now let's do our deep dive into Facebook Live. So why do we think Live is different? Why did we go out and say that we're going to go all in on Live? Well, we really have a number of reasons, and we tried to make it cute by having everything start with the letter I. Number 1 is interactive, the ability to make viewing an interactive element. And that's been going on for years, but it's usually been reserved to sports bars. But now you're able to actually engage and talk with people, show your reactions to live video content as it's unfolding on Facebook. Number 2, it's very intimate. And the example we have here is a look from Kevin Hart that you would otherwise never be able to get. Number 3 is immediate. And that's an example of our Facebook map, which shows who's broadcasting live at any given moment. And the numbers have been amazing. I mean, within a few months, we saw that tens of millions of people were going live every single day. So it's happening, it's immediate, and it's around the world. And then inventory. You know, there's a lot of content that's out there that you probably would not have thought of being purposeful for a live broadcast. But what we're going to kind of walk through today is that there's actually plenty of pieces of content, whether it's Stephen Curry doing a three-point barrage during the pregame and doing his dribbling, to anything like maybe the players running onto the field. Those are all big, meaningful moments that people want to see. It's just not necessarily on the big screen. It's something they want to take out of their pocket and see very intimately. So with that, we see 2 major opportunities in sports when it comes to Facebook Live. Number 1, creating the new content formats that I just alluded to. And then number 2 is distributing live sports events. And we'll walk through some different opportunities that could be there. So the new content formats, apparently exploding watermelons is a big deal. That attracted over 800,000 concurrent viewers to watch that unfold for about 40 minutes. And then live sports we'll obviously touch on as well. Yep. There we go. All right, so a couple of examples. Syracuse did a great job during the Elite Eight. They made it very social by actually showing a level of their athletes that people probably have never been able to experience before. Much more intimate. It was a live chat. It was also very interactive, where the fans actually decided what questions were to be asked to the players. A raw and alternate perspective. I mentioned Curry before. Here's an example. You could see in the views, 150,000 plus people watched Curry practice live before the game that night, doing his dribbling technique as well. And then surrounding your audience on the second screen. And the Tony Romo example I really like for a number of reasons. Number 1, the idea of having a star quarterback answer your questions during a live sports event is just really cool. something that you've never really been able to do before, where you can, in essence, choose who your sideline reporter is. And that was the case there. So Romo not only was able to dissect the plays unfolding live during the game, he's kind of looking up right now, he's actually looking at the television with the Super Bowl playing, but also answering questions from fans is something that wasn't necessarily available a year ago. Put yourself in the athlete's shoes. So, not often are you going to be able to literally give a camera to an athlete, but during the Pro Bowl you can. Jarvis Landry ran onto the field with the camera in his hand and gave fans a feeling of what it's like to run at a stadium like you've never had before. So this is literally his first-person view of jumping onto the field during the Pro Bowl. Breaking news, major announcements. I mean, press conferences have been going on for decades. The ability to take that moment and stream it internationally is definitely available for all colleges to do. And this is an example that the Broncos did with Peyton Manning when he announced his retirement, and it opened the door for over 100,000 people at that given moment to be able to consume that content. And then live interactive formats, and this is one of my personal favorites. So this is Bleacher Report doing their NFL draft coverage, and what you'll notice in quality of production is basically there's going to be lower thirds, there's graphics, there's animations, they're switching cameras, but the entire content is live on Facebook, and Bleacher does a great job of making their content inherently social. So literally think of having your own 40-minute sports show, except the viewer weighs in on what the content's going to be. And that's exactly what Bleacher did, and I think they did a great job at it. And then ESPN has done a really good job recently being able to take Facebook Live and bring it into their first screen broadcast, making SportsCenter more social and interactive than ever before. And they did that with some technology that allowed them to take the live comments streaming in from Facebook Live and having it actually go onto the screen and have their analysts talk about it and answer the questions during their live programming. And then live games. I mentioned before inventory. We feel at the college level there's a ton of inventory that you have, and if you look at your deals, I'm sure there's a lot that's falling by the wayside. So the opportunity to take that content and distribute it widely is a great opportunity to use Facebook for. And by the way, to be clear, we don't have a set of best practices yet. We don't know. This is too new. We have no idea if people are going to literally spend 2 hours watching a game on their phone. It's a great question, and we'd love to get an answer to it by working with you. But this is an example in which Alex Morgan shared her game going on live, and it ended up getting over 200,000 concurrent views, or I should say views of the live game, which is great, and greater numbers than they would have had otherwise. It was a game that wasn't going to be broadcast. And then monetization, which I know is kind of a big deal. And we're working on it, I assure you. So this is what we've come up with so far with more products coming. Number one is branded content, which we'll go into. Number two is instant articles. So let's talk branded content. The whole idea of this product is transparency. So there's transparency to the people who are consuming the content, understanding that they're about to consume and watch is in fact branded. Number two, the brands themselves are able to have access to the data, so it allows them to understand how the content is performing that they're investing in. And then finally, the level of analysis and metrics is there for the main media partner as well. And there's a level of transparency knowing that when you're using this tool, you're not violating policy. So with that, there are specific rules that are in play. You have to use the tool to tag, so you can see Opal is tagged in this specific example. Then in addition to that, we have other rules that you could see if you just simply put in, I'll get you the link, but I think it's just Google basically Facebook branded content policy, and you'll see all of the information there. And what you'll see is we're very protective on the content. We want to make sure it's not overtly commercial, otherwise it should be a sponsored post, but it's instead content that just happens to be branded as well and allowing you to monetize on it. So that allows its distribution to be as good as it would be if you didn't have it as branded content. It's actually one of the better examples. So while we're watching this one, and this one is truly great content that is purely branded, Other ways of doing it are things like having branded in graphics, having your logo appear on a lower third, things like that that are more traditional to live sports are also good to use for branded content. So a good example for branded content that we saw during the Super Bowl was done by Fox Sports. They did a nice package with GoDaddy that ended up reaching over 70 million people, attained over 70 million views, and had 500 million impressions. And unless if you actually own the rights to the Super Bowl, which they do this year, they didn't last year, those are numbers that would be near impossible to attain. So the power of the Facebook distribution combined with great content and the ability to have a brand involved could lead to a really successful opportunity for you. Anyway, you get the idea. So that's branded content. So you saw two good examples there. One where the entire content was in essence a part of the branding, and one where there was a logo that came up after 3 seconds. The other way you could currently monetize is through instant articles. The idea of instant articles is that when you're on a mobile device, and I'm sure any of you could check now, and you click on a link on Facebook, even though we do lead to about 1/4 of referral traffic, it's not the best experience. It could take anywhere from 8 to 15, 20 seconds to be able to get from Facebook to a link that you were interested in reading. And we've seen a lot of people just drop off. They click the link, but they don't land at the destination because it was taking too long. So what we've come up with is a native experience called Instant Articles that allows publishers to actually create the templates, make sure they get all of the branding. We've worked with all of the analytics companies to make sure that things like ComScore and so forth, you get the credit as referral traffic from them landing on your content. But at the same time, it's actually part of the Facebook native experience. And in these environments, you're actually able to monetize. The way you could do that is one of two ways, one of which is sell it yourself, in which case you do keep 100% of the revenue. And then the other option is used in Facebook's Audience Network, which is our monetizing system that basically does backfilling of advertising. And you keep whatever the market rate is. And the results that we've seen so far is 20% more people are clicking instant articles compared to regular post links. 70% are less likely to abandon. Again, that has to do with the speed. The second you click an instant article, it literally shows up open in front of you. And then there's 30% more shares, so we're getting a lot more engagement. And every time there's a share, that means that that piece of content gets in front of about 200 more people. So if you could get thousands of shares, you're reaching millions of people, which is really one of the top goals there. So Instant Articles is a product that we have out there. If you're interested, again, you can find it and access it now. We're working with every partner interested in getting on Instant Articles. So other opportunities to quickly walk through, 360 video. This is a new immersive experience. The idea is to be able to provide people with a peek of things that, different perspectives that they haven't seen before. This is a look at LeBron James doing a workout, and what you'll see is if you shift the screens, that's using your finger, you can literally see the entire arena. We've seen this used in many good examples as well, other than LeBron. We'll show you a couple of them now. Giving fans a new perspective on game day. So this is the Stanford team runout. Again, a very cool way to see everything from what's going on in the stands to the players and so forth. And as you move your phone, you're able to see different perspectives of it happening. We also saw the Pac-12 championship game inside the locker room. And definitely use it for recruiting. I think Michigan, Stanford obviously has done it, but Michigan's virtual reality, I thought just gave an awesome example of what it's like to be on campus. I could see here they didn't choose one of their 20-degree days with snow and wind. But it brings you into the big house. And to be able to allow people to see this, from 13 on, the age 13 on, without having to do a visit is pretty incredible. And you could see it had 150,000 views. Facebook Messenger, I mentioned before, 900 million active monthly users, and we see that number really growing. So different products that you could currently use. They have a sticker platform where you could get people to share different pieces of content. The same thing goes with GIFs. And then most recently, media bots, and I think this is the future. I'm really excited about this one. You could check out, we just rolled out the Score, the app, the Score, now has a messenger bot, and it's a really cool experience where every time your favorite team is about to take the field, or if there's ever breaking news about that team, you immediately get information. And then what's also cool about media bots is that it actually goes both ways with the API. You could actually ask a question, is so-and-so going to play tonight? And it ends up reaching the publishing team, and you get a response within a half hour, depending on time, I should say. So if reach it at middle hours, it could be weird. But anyway, it's really cool. This is kind of the first step, in our opinion, of AI being really used, where you're able to actually engage with this type of content. And then Instagram, kind of a big deal. So what we're doing with Instagram, as far as our sports strategy, it's give sports fans access to the world's most authentic and visually creative moments. So it's very artsy. That's the idea of Instagram right now. And to walk you through a couple of numbers as far as opportunity, it's all about reaching a different audience. 400 million people currently active on Facebook, about 75% are outside of the US. These are the priority markets that we're focused on right now. Very highly engaged, 20 plus minutes spent per day in the app, 80 million photos and videos per day. Looking at the Super Bowl, that's actually the Facebook numbers, but their numbers were 35 million and 150 million. So it's a good comparison to be able to see that even though they're much smaller, the level of engagement was significantly higher. 61% are between the ages of 18 and 24, and they use Instagram every day. 9 out of 10 teens watch video on social media, comes from Defy, and 30% of tops accounts on Instagram are sports related, specifically athletes. Like, athletes are definitely the gold standard on Instagram because, again, it's that level of access that you otherwise would not get. As far as the type of content that should be out there for video, you could see athletes, so that's Neymar and Curry. First-person content, so Sharapova. Behind the scenes from Real Madrid. And custom content. So those are the best ways to really drive engagement. Again, posting video, making it first person, offering a behind the scenes of something you typically are not able to get, and creating custom content, specifically making it artistic, using the filters and having fun with it. And then coming up with a visual franchise. We've seen Photo of the Night by SportsCenter. We've seen Phantom Cam by the NBA. We've seen Sideline Graham from College Game Day. And then we've seen Slate Night from the Golden State Warriors. And that's what we've seen so far. We think there's going to be a lot more of these. These all get a lot of engagement. People know that they're coming. They know to expect them. And they create a behavior in which they're anticipating the content and are just waiting for the content producer to put it out there. I should also mention we've gone from 15 seconds for video to 60 seconds now. So you could definitely go a little bit longer with creativity when it comes to Instagram. And finally, Sports Stadium. This is a product that we released in January, focused on the NFL, but we have since rolled it out to everything from basketball, baseball, NHL, college football, college basketball. We've been kind of quiet about it before we put the fire hose behind it and have the massive distribution. We're trying to make sure we get it right. And so we've been doing a lot of tests to try to understand how people engage with the content in real time. To be clear, as far as how does this work with college partners and college media, it's all about the opportunity to reach your audience in real time on Facebook, aside from using just Facebook Live. So it's a whole new way of engaging with your audience in real time on Facebook. The content shows up in chronological order. There's a lot less noise in that the content is curated. So if you're an official broadcaster or if you just simply cover any of these teams, your content will show up in there. There's a Friends tab where it basically encourages people to be social around the games together. And then you can see on the far right, there's the statistics, the basic fantasy stats. So that's been a big investment that we've made in sports. We're still investing. We're still working to figure it out. I think one of the key things you'll see over the next few months is us figuring out how to put video prominently featured in this experience. Right now we have that little video wing, I guess, or carousel. But we plan on creating a video tab where your content could really be displayed in a very meaningful way inside this experience. So Sports Stadium, definitely a way to get in front of your audience. And the best way to do that, by the way, is tagging the teams that you're covering or the teams that you work for. Also using hashtags for the teams as well is another way to get your content in there. And with that, that's it. So we'll be here all day. This is very exciting for us to be a part of this, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have off onto the side. Thank you very much, guys.